And this represents that you were cheated on. This is actually ridiculous, but it is so real here in China. As one of the oldest living civilizations on Earth, China has very strong cultural beliefs. What may be okay in the West is probably taboo here in China. So, if you don't want to get thrown out of China or be put in jail, wow, that was a bit extreme. But anyway, I set up the don'ts and also the do's to let people treat you like a local. If you're new to the channel, ni hao, I'm Lizzie, and today I'm gonna help keep you out of trouble in China. Let's get started with table manners. So Chinese practice a very gathering dining system, which means all the dishes get placed in the middle of a table and everyone is encouraged to help themselves. So let's start with the do's. Always let the elders be seated first. Very, very important here. And also probably when they start eating, it's okay for you to start eating. In China, they do like their own type of cheers, which is called ganbei, which means dry cup. So it's a little bit different because when you cheers, you take a sip. But here, if they say ganbei, oh, you gotta down that glass. The good thing is that you get very small glasses on the table. So usually they would pour your small glass full, so it's just like taking shots every time. So when they do ganbei, please make sure to empty your glass. It's really a sign of respect. Next, you do have to try everything. You gotta force that stuff down and make good remarks. I've been in quite a few situations where there were things on the table that I've never seen in my life. You know, it is known that China has a bit weird food. So anyway, I tried it and I had to swallow and keep that smile on my face. Probably the worst thing here is to slurp your food. Something personal, I have broken up with someone just because of the slurping. Like, I'm not joking, I have that, what do you call that? Like that phobia, that fear, that irritation when someone chews in your ears. It is really actually bad for me. And the people here slurp their noodles like they have never eaten anything in their life. So that is a bit difficult for me. But it is encouraged to slurp because this shows that the food is delicious. Now let's talk about the don'ts. Like I said, don't eat before the elders eat or before the hosts. Don't play with your chopsticks. Don't point the chopsticks at someone. Don't put the chopsticks upright in the bowl. And please do not use your chopsticks to play drums. Woo! Another big don't here is tipping. When you tip people here, especially waiters, tour guides, they do find it a bit offensive. So please don't think you're doing them a favor when you're giving them money. So don't tip. Second thing on the list is gift giving. So when you do receive a gift, receive it with both hands. Chinese people think it's very impolite to open the gift in front of the person who gave it to them. So don't feel frustrated when they don't open the gift that you gave them. And also don't be eager to open the gift if someone else gave you a gift. It's very polite to kind of be like, oh no, please no. Even though you're like, yeah, I got a gift. No, you gotta show the face and be like, no. Please, I can't accept this. And then like they'll carry on, and like after the third or fourth time they said no, they'll probably give it to you. Also, another do that if you do want to give someone a gift, probably from your country would be the best: alcohol, cigarettes, quality pens. That's really gifts that are given a lot here and much appreciated by the Chinese. Here comes the don'ts of gift giving. Oh, there's gonna be some weird ones, so first up, don't give someone a clock. This represents attending a funeral, so you're cursing someone to die. Don't give someone white or yellow flowers, as these represent funeral flowers. Next, don't give someone a green hat. The Chinese phrase is 戴绿帽子, which means to wear a green hat. And this represents that you were cheated on. This is actually ridiculous, but it is so real here in China. Then we got a few relationship things. Firstly, don't offer someone in a relationship any scissors or sharp objects, as this represents severing the relationship. Another thing when gifting people in relationships is don't give any pears or umbrellas. The Chinese pronunciation pear sounds the same as divorce, and umbrella is the same as separation. So it is known that if you give people these kind of gifts that you are cursing them or want them to be apart. So be careful of that. Funny personal story, the one time I did give someone white flowers. It was actually white and yellow, to be honest. And like they didn't say anything, and after a week they were like, I felt cursed this whole week and I don't know how to keep it quiet anymore, but please never buy me yellow or white flowers again. It represents death, as it is like flowers of funerals. So I definitely learned my lesson. Like they say, you learn by making the mistake, right? So next I do want to talk about culture and the general rules of it. So the do's. Do be on time. I know that probably in your country is also respected, but here it is maybe taken to a next level. The other thing about Chinese, they are never early, but they're also never late. Like when a meeting starts at 9, 5 to 9, there will be no one at the meeting. 1 minute past 9, everyone will be seated in that room. After 4.5 years, I have still not figured out how they do that. But if you don't believe me, please come and experience it. It is insane and actually pretty cool, to be honest. Another weird thing is 4 sounds like death in Chinese, so please don't be weirded out if your hotel room doesn't have a 4th floor. So let's get to don'ts. Don't be too physical. Don't be all macho and give a really firm handshake. Don't be too physical. When you're giving a handshake, shake a little bit lighter, as it shows or represents aggression, I've heard. And no hugging. Oh, that's weird. Never hug someone you've just met. That is a big don't. Don't display public affection, like when you're here with your boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever. Holding hands is probably okay, but kissing, those kind of things, that's a big no here. People will look at you and not out of respect. So avoid public displays of affection. Another thing is, don't really feel offended or be taken aback when Chinese people ask you a lot of personal questions. That kind of boundary line is not really there for them, and it really is them being interested in you, and they have their zodiac signs, so they kind of make the math in their head of who you are as a person by asking you questions. So don't be too offended by that. Another don't is don't compare China and Japan. That is a very sensitive subject, and that is not something to talk about. Like when I first came to China, I had this misconception that there's sushi in China. So it's like my first week in China, and I asked the taxi driver like, hey, where's sushi? And she obviously didn't understand me, and I couldn't speak Chinese at the time, so I translated, and her face was just like shocked. And after, when I went to work, I asked one of my colleagues, and she's like, yeah, firstly, there's no sushi in China. Some restaurants, but not really that good. And also, Japan is not to be mentioned, or then anything even made in Japan. So try to avoid that. Another don't is China is very proud of their country, like very, very proud. So if you have something bad to say, make sure you never say it in front of a Chinese. They will be very offended and might even lose face with you, which is a big thing for them to lose face if you talk bad about their country. So don't talk bad about China in front of other Chinese. Another don't is don't point your finger. I know a lot of people talk like this, especially a lot of Westerners. When we discuss things, it's like da da da, and you're talking. Oh, Chinese hate that. It is very offensive for them. Like in a relationship, when I'm talking, I'm very like kind of, I don't know, passionate to talk like this, and that's just how I express myself. Oh, some fights have been fought because of the finger. So rather, instead of pointing fingers, like, try to talk with the palm of your hand or just use your whole hand. I know it's weird, but it is a thing here. So maybe if you're not in China yet, let go of the finger and get used to talking with your hand. Next up, we got greetings, the do's. Do greet someone with a handshake or a nod. Bows are best kept for Japan or Korea. No bowing here. The first week I was in China, we went to a McD's, and one of my colleagues, we got the food, and she bowed so far down that she hit her head on the counter. Not just was it weird, it was hilarious because she thought it's such a big sign of respect. So I'm helping you to not embarrass yourself, but also not to hit your head on a counter in a McD's. Do greet the elders first. In China, when you say hi to someone, it's ni hao, but when you talk to someone older than you, you say ning hao. When you say that, people will be totally amazed even just by saying that word and would immediately respect you for that. Next, let's talk about the etiquette in historic and religious areas. So the do's. When visiting a temple or a monastery, do walk in a clockwise direction, always. There will always be signs, but make sure that you always walk in a clockwise direction. I have seen some situations where foreigners actually didn't know, and it doesn't matter to them. Like, make sure you walk in a clockwise direction. Do take off your hat always, and make sure that you are covered. Don't walk with sleeveless shirts or really short pants. The don'ts. Don't photograph someone in the temple. Another don't is don't touch a Tibetan on the head. A Tibetan believes that God resides in their head, so you can just imagine what happens when you touch them on the head. Let's just quickly discuss business matters. When Chinese people give you their business card, it is amazing for you, which means they really do plan on having future business relations with you. So when they do give you a card, receive it with both hands and really examine the card, like look at it for a while, and never write on a business card when that person is still in front of you, or if he doesn't ask you to write something down on his business card. Lastly, but very important, is face. So face in China represents the good honor, your reputation. It kind of represents everything about yourself. Foreigners can sometimes unintentionally criticize Chinese people, and that can make them lose face, especially when they are in front of other Chinese. So please make sure of your words or of your jokes. Because China is all about the face, praising someone publicly will give you a huge amount of respect, which I hope you would do it intentionally and with good heart and with good meaning. But yeah, praising someone publicly would bring you a far way in business and also being respected by them. These are all the do's and the don'ts that I know is true. So I can't imagine how you feel hearing it for the first time. Please let me know. And while you're down there, remember to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.